DC Comics has created thousands of heroes over the decades. Some became legends, some became icons, and some got lost in the shadows of history. Today, we're shining a spotlight on forgotten DC heroes. Characters that once had their moment, their series, or their big idea, but somehow slipped through the cracks. These aren't bad characters. In fact, some of them were way ahead of their time. I am Chip Hazard. This is Movement Radio, and these are 10 forgotten DC heroes you need to remember. First up, the Omega Men. The Omega Men are one of DC's earliest attempts at morally complex cosmic storytelling, long before that kind of narrative became mainstream. Introduced in the early 80s, the Omega Men were a group of alien revolutionaries fighting against the Citadel, an oppressive interstellar empire. But here's the twist. Depending on whose perspective you're following, the Omega Men are either freedom fighters or straight up terrorists. That ambiguity was radical for its time. They often crossed paths with Green Lantern, especially Kyle Rayner, but they never quite fit into DC's heroic framework. They weren't clean, inspirational heroes. They were desperate, angry, and willing to make impossible choices. That complexity is probably why they faded into obscurity. However, Tom King's Omega Men series in 2015 proved just how powerful this concept still is. That book leaned hard into political commentary, propaganda, war, ethics, and trauma, showing that the Omega Men weren't forgotten because they were bad, but because they were ahead of the curve. In today's comics landscape, where gray morality and character driven drama dominate, the Omega Men feel more relevant than ever. Next up is Firestorm. Firestorm should be one of DC's most iconic heroes, and the fact that he isn't is honestly baffling. The core concept is brilliant. A reckless teenager and a brilliant scientist fused together in a nuclear powered superhero. Firestorm isn't just about flashy powers, he's about responsibility, mentorship, and inner conflict. Ronnie Raymond brings emotion, fear, and impulsiveness. Martin Stein brings logic, restraint, and wisdom. Together, they embody the idea that power without balance is dangerous. So, why was Firestorm forgotten? Well, the problem has always been instability. DC constantly reboots Firestorm, changes who's inside the Matrix, alters his powers, and shifts his tone. As a constant result, readers never got a consistent version long enough to emotionally invest. When Firestorm works, he's a perfect bridge between street level humanity and cosmic level power. He deserves a modern run that commits to his identity and explores nuclear power as both a miracle and a threat, something that feels incredibly relevant today. Next up is Metamorpho. Metamorpho is one of DC's most tragic heroes, even if he doesn't always get treated that way. Rex Mason was an adventurer transformed into a living chemical element after exposure to a strange meteorite. He didn't gain a sleek costume or enhanced physique. He became something monstrous, unstable, and permanently altered. What makes Metamorpho compelling isn't just his power to transform into any element, it's that he never asked for this. His stories often revolve around identity loss and the struggle to hold on to humanity when your body no longer reflects it. The reason Metamorpho fell into obscurity is simple. He's weird. He doesn't fit the traditional superhero fantasy. He's uncomfortable, visually bizarre, and emotionally heavy. But in an era where Doom Patrol style storytelling thrives, Metamorpho feels like a character waiting for rediscovery. Lean into the body horror, the emotional weight, and the dark humor. And you got something special, I think. Next up is The Question. So Vic Sage's The Question is one of DC's most philosophically rich characters and also one of its most difficult. Originally created as a hard-hitting investigative journalist turned vigilante, The Question wears a mask that removes his face entirely. No eyes, no mouth, just a blank stare. That visual alone says everything. The Question is about punches or powers. He's about truth, obsession, and paranoia. In his best stories, particularly under Dennis O'Neil, Vic Sage becomes almost unhinged, constantly questioning reality, authority, and his own sanity. So why was he forgotten? Well, because the question demands more from the reader. His stories are cerebral, political, and uncomfortable. They don't offer easy answers, only more questions. In a modern world filled with misinformation, conspiracies, and fractured truth, the question could be one of DC's most relevant street level heroes. He just needs the right writer willing to embrace his discomfort. Next up, we have Animal Man. Animal Man is proof that a character doesn't need a flashy premise to become legendary. He just needs the right story. On the surface, Buddy Parker is simple. He can borrow the abilities of animals, strength of an elephant, speed of a cheetah, flight of a bird. But Grant Morrison transformed Animal Man into something extraordinary. Morrison turned Buddy into a self-aware character who realizes he's part of a comic book, confronting his creator and questioning free will, storytelling, and suffering. That run became so iconic that DC never quite knew what to do with Animal Man afterwards. He wasn't forgotten because he lacked depth. He was forgotten because his defining story was just too good. Yet later runs proved Animal Man works beautifully as an eco warrior, family man, and emotional anchor. In an era of emotional anxiety and metafictional storytelling, Animal Man is ripe for revival. Next up is Dr. Mid-Nite. Dr. Mid-Nite is one of DC's most underrated Golden Age heroes. A skilled surgeon blinded by an explosion, Dr. Mid-Nite gains the ability to see perfectly in total darkness. Using blackout bombs in tactical combat, he turns his disability into his greatest strength. Unlike many heroes, Dr. Mid-Nite isn't about spectacle. He's about precision. He plans, he studies, he operates with clinical efficiency. That grounded nature is why he faded into the background. In a universe of gods and monsters, a methodical tactician can be overlooked. But modern comics have proven that grounded, skill based heroes can thrive. A Dr. Midnight series focused on crime, medicine, and ethical dilemmas would fit perfectly alongside today's prestigious storytelling. And next up, Blue Devil. Blue Devil is one of DC's most charmingly tragic characters. Dan Cassidy was a stuntman who accidentally became bonded to a demonic exoskeleton, trapping him permanently in the form of a devil. He didn't seek power, he didn't make a deal, he just got caught in supernatural chaos. Blue Devil's biggest problem has always been tone. He's too funny for pure horror, too dark for straight comedy. As a result, DC never quite knew where to place him. But modern comics thrive on genre blending. Blue Devil could easily anchor a supernatural action comedy series, balancing humor, tragedy, and horror in a way that feels very current. Next up is The Demon. Etrigan the Demon is pure Jack Kirby madness, and that's exactly why he stands out. Bound to the human Jason Blood, Etrigan is a rhyming, fire-breathing demon with roots in Arthurian legend. He's violent, sarcastic, and often barely controlled. The challenge with Etrigan is consistency. When writers lean too far into comedy, he becomes a joke. When they lean too far into horror, he loses personality. That balance is hard, which is why Etrigan drifts in and out of relevance. But with horror comics resurging and audiences embracing darker fantasy, Etrigan could thrive again, especially in a mature, mythological heavy series. Next up is Hourman. Hourman is one of DC's most underrated high concept heroes. By taking Miracolo, Rex Tyler gains superhuman abilities, but only for 1 hour. When the clock runs out, so does his power. That time limit is genius. Our man stories naturally revolve around urgency, sacrifice, and addiction. Miraclo isn't just a power source, it's a dependency. The problem? That same limitation makes long term storytelling difficult. But modern comics thrive on limited series, and Our Man is perfect for that format. Tight, focused stories with ticking clocks practically write themselves. And last today, Static. So, Static is one of DC's greatest missed opportunities. Originally part of Milestone Comics, Static brought youth, humor, and grounded social commentary to superhero storytelling. He felt real in a way many heroes didn't. Corporate complications and inconsistent publishing schedules caused Static and much of Milestone to fade from the spotlight. But Static never stopped resonating with fans. Every attempt to bring him back proves the same thing. The character works, he connects, he matters. DC just needs to fully commit. And there you have it. DC's history is deep, and sometimes the best characters aren't the ones on the covers. They're the ones waiting to be rediscovered. So, which forgotten DC hero deserves a comeback the most? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this deep dive. And as always, I am Chip Hazard. This is Movement Radio. Keep nerding out.